Hello all, welcome to Teja Tech Lab. Isn't it visually beautiful how the right time-lapse looks when compared to the left time-lapse? I call it a layered trigger time-lapse. Let's see the principle behind the layered trigger time-lapse and how we can build it. We are using an FDM printer to print the object. It prints the object layer by layer. So, at the end of each layer, we move the extruder to the extreme x-axis position, where it hits the volume button of the earphone, which is connected to your phone via a 3.5mm jack. When the extruder hits the volume button, it acts as a trigger to take the picture on the connected phone. We play all the pictures in a sequence, which leads to a beautiful and satisfying time-lapse. Let's start making the support to hold the microphone. We have to take the reading for the support to print and place it on the x-axis bar of the 3D printer. These readings differ from printer to printer. I am using Ender S1 Pro 3D printer. I used Fusion 360 to design the support. Let's save it as .stl. And I'm using Ultimaker CURA to convert the .stl to .z code, which we will copy into the SD card and feed it into the 3D printer. This is what a normal time-lapse looks like. We can see the rapid motion of the print bed and the extruder. This is how the support looks. I made a passage for the wire in the support using a soldering iron. I attached a double-sided tape to the microphone to attach it to the support. Let's add a little hot glue to the volume increase button. So, when the extruder reaches the extreme x-axis, it hits the volume increase button instead of the entire volume button. Before connecting it to the x-axis bar of the 3D printer, let's test it. Yes, it's working. Now connect the setup to the extreme position of the x-axis bar of the 3D printer, where the extruder can push the volume button. Let's add a couple of zip tags to make the setup rigid, so it doesn't move when the extruder hits the volume button. Let's test it by moving the extruder using the UI of the 3D printer. The Ender S1 Pro extruder can move up to 220 mm as it's working. So now let's see how to change our G-code such that after the printing of every layer, the extruder moves to the end of the x-axis and hits the volume button. Let's take a 3D sample and load it into the Ultimaker CURA. Go to Extensions, Post Processing and Modify G-code. Add a script button, click on Time-lapse. Now let's select the appropriate settings based on our requirements. Change the value of the park print head X from 0 to 220 mm. That's where we placed our setup. And change the retraction distance from 0 to 1 mm. I have selected my default printer settings. Slice the file, which gives us the modified G-code for our time-lapse. Let's copy the G-code onto the SD card and feed it into the 3D printer. Now let's see how the complete setup and the modified Z-code work together. This is how the final result looks after playing all the pictures in a sequence. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.